And then you start having this identity crisis. Well, if I'm not this guy, if I'm not this thing anymore, then what am I? What are my core beliefs? What are my morals? And all the things that kept you, moving, like you said, very highly disciplined and routine. Now it's on you. And then guys start to lose that. They think that they did all the hard stuff and now it's supposed to be the fun times.
Yeah.
And the reality is,
I know you are a transition specialist. You wrote the 7 stages of transition.
yeah, so
I
that's kind of the issue right there. You kind of nailed it. And it doesn't really matter whether you were the military or not, because if you live long enough, you go through chapters in your life will change. And that's kind of where it happens. And it everything from a firefighter or a police officer. You have a long career as a financial advisor and that ends for some reason.
Yeah.
You got to start over a career. Like if you live long enough, we become what we do. So if I'm using like special operations as an example, I was a Marine Raider, or we have buddies that were Navy SEALs. That's who they are. That's not just what they do, but it's who they are. Same thing with a cop, same thing with a mother who was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. That's what she is. That's what she's done. That's part of her identity. So now you have this excitement, but then you leave and then you start having this identity crisis. Well, if I'm not this guy, if I'm not this thing anymore, then what am I? What are my core beliefs? What are my morals? And all the things that kept you, moving, like you said, very highly disciplined and routine. Now it's on you. And then guys start to lose that. They think that they did all the hard stuff and now it's supposed to be the fun times.
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's the hard times that was making them happy. And we can get into that later. But nonetheless, it really comes down to an identity crisis of like, well, if I'm not this thing, then who am I? And they have to refigure that out.
You bring up a really interesting point that I think is worth exploring. And so one of the things that I've done in the second chapter of my career is I help in the financial industry. There's the average age of people in our industry is 62 years old. And so they become exactly what you said. They become the role. And when they transition out, they have no identity outside of that. And so one of the things that I have to help them do and coach them through is actually help them in any industry. When you sell a business, you cannot be the business. And this happens with motherhood all the time, like moms, especially. Dads are less likely, although I don't have a lot of faith in the next generation of dads not to be like moms, but the moms of our past are the ones that their entire identity is their children. And then all of a sudden they find themselves without the kids in the house, and with their impact cannot be what they did. Their impact has to be who they are. And you said something super good, and that is they have to rediscover who they are. If they know who they are throughout and they can stay smooth with that understanding, the transition is easier. But it can't be easy if their impact is everything.
So for instance, let's look at that person. Let's look at a cop. Let's look at military. So if you have something outside of what you are, and I did not, but if, for instance, that stay-at-home mom, if she was continually developing herself on her own outside of her children, had something for herself, develop continuously, even if it was small or on the side, developing her own career, developing herself both mentally and physically, when that transition happens, there is a anchor, there is a foundational point of something that's external from what she normally did, right? So that's normal. That becomes normal. So like I was talking, one of my tier 1 clients, Mike Edwards, goes by Mike the Cop. I don't know if you ever come across him. So we had that talk with him, and he said, honestly, I had jujitsu. So I think he did 11 years as a cop. And then he got to a point to where like, I don't think this is for me, the way that things are going, I'm having a hard time here. A lot of cops have an issue, just like military. When they leave that job, they kind of implode and drink and, struggle. He started jujitsu, I want to say about 6 years in. So he'd been doing it about 5 years. So when he left that, there was something that was normal. Like what I did before, I still do now, right?
An anchor. It's like an anchor. Yeah. Okay.
It's an anchor. Yeah. So I challenge everyone to always have that anchor outside of what you do, something that's for you outside of that. I did not have anything. I was from 99 up when I was trying to go in, and then I joined in 2000, all the way to 2012. Man, I had nothing. I mean, yes, I was a husband, I was a father, I had two kids, two daughters. But man, there was nothing outside of that. I was granted, if you look at from 2000 to 2012, we were very heavy in the post 2001, very heavily in combat. So that was my focus, right? And my focus was just being on a team, doing the job, getting downrange as many times as I can, being as relevant and active as I can in that community. And so it cost me, because I went all in on that. And then when I left, I had this thought that, like, well, you're a Marine for life. That's what they tell you. And you're MARSOC for life. You're a Raider for life. You're a Force Recon Marine for life. And essentially that's kind of, there's a sliver of truth to that. But the reality is, the phone stops ringing, that kind of all goes to shit. That the military and that job, whether you're law enforcement, whatever it is, that job continues without you. And they just forget about you.
Every job does this. I mean, it's no different. When I left the company after 15 years, I thought it was like where I was going to be forever, and our friends would be the same friends. And all of a sudden the phone stops ringing, and you have less in common. You have a couple people that stick around. You always have a couple, the cream rises to the top, but you're right. Every job, you realize it's just a job.
Just a job. And that's why it's so important to have that thing outside of that, to continue to develop yourself, to continue to learn, so that when things do change, you have that anchor. But if you don't have that anchor, you're going to need to find one real quick, because otherwise you're going to be real lost. Yeah, which is okay. It's okay to be lost. It's not okay to be lost and stay there and build a house there and just live in this shithole of a place, mentally and spiritually and physically. But it's okay to be there. It's just now it's time to take action to move on, down the road in life. Because the reality is, life can be freaking rad. Like, it's I'm 40 years old. My life is more rad now than it ever has been. And that's the truth. Everybody's like, oh, don't you wish you could go back? Hell no, I don't wish I can go back, man. I have a freaking badass life that I've built, but I built it from the ground up. I built it. And I think that's what people are missing. Like, they're waiting for this thing to happen for them. They're waiting for this just amazing thing to happen organically. And the reality is, that's not the way that works. You want an awesome life. You want an awesome job. You want an awesome relationship. You want an awesome wife. You want awesome kids. You got to go build that shit, man. You got to go make it.
And the first thing they have to do is really we have to figure out that we are where we're supposed to be at right now. Wherever you are, you're right where you're supposed to be. What you choose to do tomorrow is the next step. If you're not where you want to be financially, if you're not where you want to be health-wise, I mean, we talked about health earlier. It's probably I learned early on, I played sports all the time. And so I was playing soccer 3 times a week and basketball once a week and doing all these things. And then when you get busier with work, what you realize is you don't have time to do it every single day, but you still see it in your brain that you're doing it as much as you were. So I learned if I got a personal trainer, I had to show up to someone. I never missed that way. You have to find ways to be self-aware, to know how to trick yourself into keeping the facilities about you to make it work.
You know what you just labeled, Scott? The reason why that is what it is, and the reason why you have to have those things, and you probably got results. Accountability.
That's it.
We have to have accountability.